Hi everybody, and welcome back to Every Stitch Counts. My name is Charlotte, and here on this channel we talk primarily about knitting and everything related to that hobby, the things I make, my experience with patterns, and wearing the things that I make. Occasionally I will dabble in some other things. I recently have been dabbling in creating shorts, like short form videos, and that's been really fun. It was a really fun way to document my recent trip to LA with my sister, and thank you all for being here. Happy to be back. I feel like I have a lot of new things to talk to you all about and I'm excited to get into it. It's just now starting to warm up here in Seattle, and I'm feeling it. It's I think it's about 76 in the apartment right now, which for us is like very warm. Comment below like where you're from and how hot it gets on average, because here 76 is like, whoo, it's getting toasty in here. And I know for most people they're like 76 is like what our springtime is like. But for us it is like kind of the height of summer in a lot of ways. I am wearing my Alice top by Petite. I forget the yarn that I made this in, but I believe I knit the second size, which is the smallest, or the second to smallest size. And I used a different base than I normally do. I used it almost looked like art yarn, but it was by this company called Wacky Yarns, and I forget the color, but you can order it online. It's pretty cheap. I think I bought 4 skeins on sale and it was like 25 bucks. If it hadn't been on sale, I think it would have been closer to like 35. So check it out if you're interested. This is a worsted weight pattern. I knit it on a US size 8, and I think that the gauge and the weave of the fabric is really nice, and it's held up really great, and I get a lot of wear out of it, surprisingly, probably because it's like such a simple pattern. Those tend to be the sweaters that I feel like I get the most wear out of. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, like the video, give it a good old thumbs up, and leave a comment. I love interacting with everybody on these videos. I think it's a really great way for us all to connect over the hobby and what we're all making and doing, and I've just come to really love hearing from you guys and hearing what you're making and how your lives are going. So subscribe, like the video, do all the things, and yeah, comment and I will do my best to read them. I'll read them all for sure, but I'll do my best to respond to all of them. So without further ado, we'll just get right into it. I have quite a few new things to share with you guys. I have one finished object. I know. Who is she? She has a finished object? What? Oh my gosh. I feel like I haven't been knitting as much like this year, but then in the last 3 weeks I feel like I've gotten so much done, mostly because I've been home finally. I was traveling around like pretty much all spring, just like gone a lot, and being on the road, like I got some stuff done, but I just wasn't able to do as much as I would have liked. So I'm happy to see some more momentum going and getting some more stuff done. The first thing that I have finished to show you is my Aloft Shawl. I don't recall the actual designer's name, unfortunately. I'm really terrible with names, you people. Please don't come after me. But this is a published pattern that was published in the 52 Weeks of Shawls book by Lina Publishing, and it is the Aloft Shawl. I have finally blocked her, and it's been too hot out to wear her, but when I get the opportunity, I think, as you can tell, she's gonna be great. I am so happy with how this came out. Even wearing it right now, I'm like, oh, it just feels so nice. It's so soft. It's so lightweight, and I'm just really happy with the end results. So a little bit about, all the things you might want to know about this. I don't think I'd ever actually made a shawl before. This was my first shawl. I've made several Sophie scarves, and I've made scarves, like traditional scarves, like just straight pieces of fabric, but I have never made a shawl. And this is only my second time doing lace work like this. So it was nice to get like some different kinds of knitting in. I feel like I've been recently making a lot of just very simple patterns with like a lot of stockinette knitting. And this was a really great way to use kind of an awkward amount of yarn that I had previously and make something that I will get a ton of wear out of. The yarn that I use to make this is the Biche Bouche Les Petite Lambs wool held double with the Diamond Lane Birdie base from the Lammin Kid. I believe the Biche Bouche is in the color turmeric, and then the Diamond Lane Birdie was one of their misdyed yarns. I'm not sure if they have that like colorway of misdyed yarns on their website, but if you go into the store, like if you live near Bainbridge Island and you go into the store and you're shopping specifically the Birdie base and you find one that has the colorway Counting Sheep, that one is technically a misdye according to them, and so they sell them at a discounted price, and it's a really nice way to get a really nice Surrey alpaca base for a little bit cheaper. And you know, I feel as you guys can probably tell, the color on this is pretty even. Like I'm struggling to kind of see where it was a misdye, but you know, it's their yarn, it's not mine. The color's pretty even. Obviously there is some amount of like variation in the color because of that, but overall I think it just looks really nice. It looks really even, especially far away, and even if like you're looking at it close up and it doesn't look super even, I think it kind of works for what it is. So I'm really happy with it. The pattern has 3 sizes originally. You can make a 1, 2, or 3, I believe. And the only difference between the sizes is like the number of repeats of the pattern that you make. So I went into this a little bit not knowing what size shawl I would end up with, because the yarn combo that I went with was very much not the correct gauge at all for the pattern. I think the pattern originally called for like a fingering or a sport weight yarn, and it called for either a US 3 or a US 4 needle. Maybe even smaller than that. I used a US 6 and I think I ended up making something between the 2nd and the 3rd largest size. So I can tell you that this combination of yarn, the Surrey alpaca, which is a fingering weight yarn, the Les Petite Lambs wool, which is also a fingering weight woolen spun yarn, knit on a US size 6, got me this. I used pretty much 3 full skeins of the Les Petite Lambs wool before I ran out, and then I used 2.5 skeins of the Birdie base. So that's the yarn that I used. I did 4 repeats of the main lace chart, and then I did 1 repeat of the like finishing panel of lace, which is the arrows that you see on the screen there. I just kind of winged it. I didn't know, again, like how much I would be able to get through or how big it would end up being. I'm happy with the size. I think it's a good size. It's big, but it's not too big. And I was able to use like most of the yarn that I had. I do still have half the skein of the Birdie base in that orangey kind of color, but there's definitely things that I'll be able to use that for in the future, like possibly a colorwork project or just mishmashing it together. I have a lot of things in that color family, and so I don't have any fear of like not being able to use that. I didn't do a gauge. I know, don't don't say anything. I didn't do a gauge. I just knew that a US 6 would get me like a comfortable gauge that I would like, and I just kind of figured like, okay, I had, I think, maybe 900 so yards of yarn, and I just knew that, okay, like that's gonna get me a pretty decent amount of fabric. And this being lace, I just kind of guessed, honestly. It was like a really low pressure project. I didn't want to put a ton of thought into it. I just wanted to like use the yarn that I had and get through it and make a shawl. As some of you know, I went back and forth a ton on what to make with this yarn, but I think that this pattern really suited the yarn well. A little bit about the pattern itself. It is a classic triangular shawl shape, and to do that you start by, casting on in the center, and you have an increase line, and then you increase at either end of wherever your row is. So you technically increase 4 stitches every other row. And this like really broke my brain quite a few times before I really got the ball rolling with the pattern. I'm not as comfortable reading lace like as I get going, and so I found myself having to reference the chart a lot, and that also got confusing because your eyes are like bouncing back and forth between what you're actually making and then the pattern. And so that slowed me down a little bit. I think I had to restart this like first 4 by 2 inches like 6 times. I was struggling. I was really, really struggling with that. And I'm like pretty confident it was because of how I was reading the chart. I don't know if this is the case for all like Norwegian designer charts or all just charts in general when you're reading knitting, but this is knit in the flat. So you're going back and forth and you have a right side and a wrong side. Whereas if you were in the round, you would always be knitting on the right side. It never clicked with me, but when I was reading the chart, I kept getting my counts screwed up. And I'm like, how is this possible? Like, I am doing exactly what this chart says. And I realized that it was because on the right side, so the right side of the lace, you read the chart left to right. I don't make the rules. I just report them to the people, and that's what you do. You read it left to right, and that's your right side of the row. I didn't realize that you don't also do that on the wrong side. Like, you read the wrong side of the chart the way you would read a book. You read it left to right, or maybe I said that backwards. Yeah, on the right side, I did say it backwards. Yeah, on the right side, you would read it right to left. And then on the wrong side, you read it like a book, which is left to right. Yeah, we're back. Got lost there for a second. I did not realize that. I do not know if that is the case for all chart patterns. Maybe if someone knows the answer to that question, you can, enlighten me in the comments. But that was really screwing me up, as you could imagine. And once I got that figured out, I was off to the races. And after that, everything got a bit easier, as you might imagine. One of the other things that kind of just, again, slowed me down, I think, was just I wasn't used to knitting lace like this. And so that referencing back and forth of the pattern to the actual knitting just really confuses me. And I tend to flip things, and it just can go downhill real fast. So the process of it, was a little bit of a rough start. But once I got going and once I got the swing of things, it was much easier, and it was a really relaxing but still really fun knit. Like, it definitely wasn't boring, which I was really happy about. The only other thing that I'll say about it is the edging. I've never done the I-cord edging at the same time as knitting like the actual fabric. And so for this, you cast on an I-cord edge and then you pick up stitches on that I-cord and then you're increasing while making your I-cord along the top. I have a bit of an unhealthy problem where I knit freakishly tight. I'm really trying to not do that, but I have this weird thing with like loose gauges. I don't like them. I don't like how they feel. I don't like how they look. Don't like them. And so I knit really tight, kind of for no reason. I could just downsize my needles and still knit really loosely and get the correct gauge, but no, I just knit really tight. And it really hurts my hands, honestly, and my shoulders and my elbow. So we're trying to work on that. But I knit this I-cord really tight. That's the moral of that story. And so I don't know if you'll be able to tell on camera, but this is the top. And as you can see, like I'm pulling it and it's not going anywhere. So on one hand, if this was like an armhole of like a top, that would be excellent because it's not going to stretch and your pattern is going to remain like really nice and flat. However, this is a shawl and I wanted, it didn't quite open up, I think, as much as it could. Like the bottom part of the triangle's I-cord is much looser. And so I think if the top hadn't been so tight, it would have opened up even more to be even like a little bit bigger. It's not like a problem in any way. It doesn't affect how it looks. It doesn't affect the functionality of it at all. I think it was more of just something to note in the future for myself of like, oh, yeah. Don't knit your I-cord super tight unless you, I guess unless you want that, because like the bottom portion of my I-cord, like you can even see like that's so loose and fluffy and looks like an actual edge, whereas the top of this is pulled so tight that it just looks like very thin in comparison. And you can really see like this will stretch and this will not. So again, it doesn't really harm the functionality of it at all, but it was just like a thing to mentally note for the next time if I make another shawl, like, okay, like I want it all to stretch evenly. And if I had knit all of the I-cord that tightly, I think it would have caused the lace to buckle in some places, which I wouldn't have wanted. But because I did the rest of it so loosely, it was able to like, you know, fan out and not buckle on me. So just keep that in mind if you are in a similar boat as I am or was with that. But yeah, this is my Aloft shawl. I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited to wear it. And the fact that I live in Washington, I'll honestly probably be able to wear it at some point this summer and not even have any weird looks given to me because that's just how we roll here. It gets warm one second and then it's cold and rainy and wet the next. So yeah, but this was a great pattern. I highly recommend if you want to just purchase the pattern and not like the whole book. It is available on Ravelry and I'll link it below. But I did also link it in my previous podcast episode. So yeah. On to the whips in progress. I have one that I'm really excited about. I mean, I'm really excited about all of them, but there's one in particular that I am really excited about. And you're gonna know which one it is because I'm gonna talk about it first, and it's just gonna be obvious why I love it so much. Are you ready? I don't think you're ready. I'm not even ready, and I get to look at it every day. Look at it. Just look at it. Oh, it's just so good, people. It's so good. This is a whole backstory. This is a perfect example of why I need structure in my life and why I need things like yearly goals and parameters on what I'm gonna do with my year, because this is the kind of stuff that I do if I don't have that. And like I think this fits within my 2024 knitting goals because I'm using stash yarn for this. But if I didn't have anything like in my stash for this, I mean, I would just buy yarn without thought. I would just buy it and I would just make things and I would start things when I have all this yarn in my, whatever. We don't want to talk about that. This is the Harju sweater by Rania. I'm not going to say her last name because honestly I don't know how to pronounce it and I don't want to embarrass myself or not pronounce her name correctly. But this is the Harju sweater. This is a test knit for the sweater. It's not, pattern's not released yet, but it is an Aran weight raglan top down cabled sweater and I am making the size small. This has been such a joy to work on. Not only has it been going like really fast, obviously, because of the Aran weight yarn, it's just shaping up to be a great sweater. I haven't tried it on yet at this stage. As you can tell, I like just split for sleeves and it looks deceptively small or like it would be kind of tight, but all these cables are so stretchy. Like I cannot wait to block this and have the before and the after shot of blocking it because I think it's just going to be really satisfying. I mean, blocking all sweaters is satisfying, but blocking cable sweaters is just like chef's kiss type of satisfying. A little backstory about how I came to be a part of this. I was just scrolling on Instagram, as one does, and I came across her reel asking for test knitters for this pattern. And it was one of those like light bulb moments where I was just like, yes, I'm doing that. I will be a part of this test knit. I don't test knit often. I've only test knit one other sweater. And I don't apply often because honestly, I don't get accepted often. I've noticed that a lot of designers have like the same people test knit for them a lot of the time. And while I understand that, I think there's obviously like a portion of that being very strategic marketing on their part. Like a lot of popular kind of knitting accounts that lots of people follow, they get asked to test all kinds of patterns because they know they're going to post about it. So I get it, but it means that I'm not necessarily going to be able to test a lot of the new patterns that are like constantly dropping, even though I would love to be a part of that process and I would love to maybe test some of those sweaters out because it's a great way to just work with designers, be a part of the creative process, but then also like get access maybe to some patterns that you wouldn't normally have knit, I guess. But neither here nor there. I got accepted to this one, which was very exciting because it kind of feels a little bit like you're getting selected for the all-star team, if I'm being completely honest, which, you know, we're all about that here. But I applied. I was kind of surprised that I got accepted to it because she said she was only picking 2 testers for each size, and so that means there's only me and one other person knitting the small, and I was just surprised that more people hadn't applied before me, just because the size small is such a common size to make. But we're here, we're happy, we're loving it. A little bit about the yarn. I'm using 2 different yarns. I did have to purchase something to hold with the base, but the base yarn is this Jester alpaca DK weight 3. This is a 2-ply. Yeah, this is a 2-ply yarn, worsted spun DK weight alpaca yarn. I bought this at the Frederick Sheep and Wool Festival when I lived on the East Coast, and it was my first introduction to like sheep festivals, wool festivals, and then buying more like farm produced yarn. And so this was always really special to me. I really loved the woman, the interaction that we had when I bought from her, and I loved the yarn. It's like so soft and it's alpaca, but it's not fuzzy. It doesn't shed. Like I think this alpaca is produced to like a way higher quality than some of the other alpacas that I've bought in the past, if I'm being completely honest. And I just knew I wanted to buy it when I was there. I liked the color. It's like a very straight up tan, beige, almost dark oatmeal color. And I bought this in like 2022 and I haven't known what to do with it since. And when I was scrolling and I saw the cabled sweater, I just thought, oh, that would be perfect for that. But it obviously isn't an Aran weight. And tell me what you guys think below. I personally don't think I like the feel or the weight of like 100% alpaca sweaters. Maybe I just haven't found the right alpaca yarn or the right pattern, but I find that I'm not loving them. Like, they're always so heavy because alpaca is so dense, and they're usually drapey, which is nice, but too drapey. I just find that I don't love them as much. But I ended up purchasing this, which this is the toque sock wool in, what color is this? Ooh, this is a finished sock yarn. It's 80% wool and 20% polyamide, obviously for the sockness of it. 100 grams, 350 yards. The color is manna, like manna from heaven, I'm assuming. Apparently manna was this color. But it's a little bit lighter. You can see them side by side. It's actually quite a bit lighter on camera, but it's a little bit lighter than the alpaca. And it was hard to color match this. It was really hard, actually. I signed up last minute, so I had to get yarn fast. And it was hard to find something this color in the right weight and in the right style of yarn that I wanted. I found a couple options in wools that were a bit denser and more thread-like similar to the knitting for olive merino, but I just didn't really want that. I wanted something a bit woolier, and I found this, and it is significantly lighter, but I think because it's so like woolly that when these are washed, those fibers are going to kind of open up a little bit more and it will blend really nicely. And so far, seeing the color like together unblocked, I'm really happy with it. It makes the oatmeal color lighter, and I think it makes it a bit more wearable. This color alone, I think, would have been too close to my skin color, and it would have ended up looking flat and like not as bright as I want it to look. I feel like that sounds really pretentious of me to say, but it's true. I like the color the way it's coming out. I was a little bit concerned with the polyamide content in this, but I think that after seeing it worked up, it actually is going to be kind of nice to have it in there, because I think it will really help with, one, the durability of the sweater, but it also, I think, will help it keep its shape as well. So I'm excited to see how this turns out, and I'm excited to take this off the needles and try it on and, you know, see what's going on with the fit. I think it's going to fit great. You should all follow me on Instagram because I post all that kind of stuff there. But yeah, this has been a joy to work on, and I'm just really excited that I've split for sleeves and I'm kind of on like the final stretches and the really easy mindless part where I can just knit and like not pay that much attention to it. So yeah, this one has been super fun. All right, my next project, I have not done a huge amount, but I wanted to talk about it because I think it's really cute. This is my Underlace top by Lily Kate France, and I am making the 3rd size. I originally bought 3 skeins of the Knitting for Olive Merino in Red Currant, and I was going to just hold it single. I thought that would get me to the right gauge, but I think the combination of the yarn being a bit lighter weight than what I'm used to, and that I knit pretty tightly, I ended up having to double up my yarn completely, keep my needle size the same as the recommended pattern, and I ended up going up all the way to the 3rd size, which I thought that I would for sure be the 2nd size, but I am indeed the 3rd size. I haven't made one of Lily's patterns before, but I've wanted to for a very long time, because I think across the board of designers that I've seen, her fit is just superior in so many ways. Like, she utilizes techniques that really elevate patterns and elevate the fit of garments. I think she just has a really great eye for classic design and classic silhouettes that look good on a wide range of people. I've also seen her patterns really look nice on a much wider variety of people and size range of people. Like, I'm pretty tall and slim, and I've seen the same patterns that she makes look just as good and just as flattering on maybe someone shorter and like not as slim, or having a completely different shape. Like, I'm pretty straight up and down. I don't have a ton of shape, but I've seen her patterns work really well for people with large busts, maybe with wider hips and smaller busts. Like, there's something about the way she's writing her patterns that just works for a lot of people. The maybe thing that makes people a bit more apprehensive about something like that is that can be a bit more complicated to work through. Like, you're not going to just cast on and do a simple drop sleeve construction. It's definitely a bit more complex than that. But if you're an adventurous knitter, if you like experimenting with different fits and learning like new skills every time you work on a new pattern, then I think her patterns would be a really great option for people. This is just the back panel, so I said like not a lot is done, but already she uses these like really nice short rows to get the neck shaping for the back, and I'm just really excited to see how the rest of it comes together. And I think the color is gonna look real cute. So yeah, all in all, I mean, I haven't made a lot on it, so I'm excited to see how it keeps coming out. I think the fabric's turning out really nice. This is my first time knitting with the Knitting for Olive Merino, and I can see why people like it so much. It just feels, I mean, this feels like something you would buy in a store. Like, it just is wool, but it's soft. It feels almost like cotton and just luscious next to your skin. I just really like it. And I think having more summer tops and summer knits is something that I'm really trying to expand on, because I don't really get to enjoy my knits at all in the summertime or when it's warm. And so I'm trying to branch out a bit and expand my wardrobe and make some things myself that I can, enjoy in the summertime. So more on this. I think I'll probably dive into this after my cable sweater, but this has just been so much fun. The last whip that I have is, I think you maybe saw part of this, but then I redid it like 3 times, and I changed the yarns a bit that I was using for it because I wasn't liking the results. But this is my Cardigan No. 8 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I am making the smallest size, so the extra small, and this is a bulky weight pattern. So this is made with bulky yarn, and it's knit on a US 9, so chunky needles by comparison to what I usually use. And I'm using a combination of 3 separate yarns all held together. So it's a combination of 2 Debbie Bliss yarns that my friend got me at an estate sale, and then a silk mohair by Sandnes Garn. The 2 Debbie Bliss yarns, one is the merino DK, so DK weight merino, and then the other one is a wool cotton blend, which is, I'm guessing, like a fingering or a sport weight yarn. And then the Sandnes Garn Tin Silk Mohair is, obviously a lace yarn that you just kind of hold with other things. And these 3 all together is what I'm using to make my Cardigan No. 8. Conveniently, I had all of these in black already, and honestly, I originally was just using the merino DK and the silk mohair because I thought maybe I would want like a DK weight cardigan more than a bulky weight cardigan, but this yarn was not, like, on its own, even with the silk mohair, it was so stretchy. It feels almost like superwash. It doesn't say if it's superwash, but I have a feeling it probably just is, because it was so stretchy. Like, I just felt like this wouldn't hold up hard at all, and that it would stretch to be not very cute. And plus I was trying to like finagle the sizes. I was trying to use a smaller needle and than the pattern called for, and I was trying to make like the size medium to account for the fact that my gauge was so much smaller, and it just wasn't working super well, and I wasn't very happy with the results I was getting. So I ripped it out and I tried it with all three, and I liked the feel of that fabric way more, but I was knitting the size small because technically that is the size I would make for myself, even though her patterns call for like a crazy amount of positive ease. I think this pattern calls for like 12 to 14 inches of positive ease. I just wasn't, it was going to be massive. And I actually got the first go round with this, I got to this point, like I had split for sleeves, I had connected, and I was knitting the body of the cardigan in the size small. And then I tried it on, and it was like I was swimming in it. I was like, one, there's no way I'm gonna have enough yarn, even though I have an insane amount of yarn to go through. There was no way I was gonna have enough. And I just hated the fit. And so I was like, we gotta do a redo of this. And so I ripped it out to the point of, you know, having the correct amount of increases. I realized that somewhere along the lines I had increased like 12 extra stitches than I needed, even for the size small. So it was massive. And so I had to rip it out, and then I pretty much started all over again and just made the extra small. So hopefully that will get me to like, you know, 6 to 8 inches of positive ease, which is more my speed. Even for like an oversized sweater. And so far, after trying it on like at this stage, I think that the fit is going to be way better than it was before. Again, tell me in the comments what you guys think about the whole positive ease thing. I get the trend of like big oversized sweaters, but one, sometimes I just feel like they're a bit overdone. Like, okay, like yes, big boxy squishy cozy sweaters, like we like those, I like those, but sometimes I just want something that fits better and is, yeah, just more fitted, more contoured to my body. I want to I don't want to be drowning in everything all the time. I want to be able to actually like have it accentuate my body versus like just hide it. And you know, I think that I was planning on using this yarn for something like this. I did have other plans for the cotton yarn, but it's honestly not a huge deal. As long as I'm using it for something, that's really all I care about. And I think that this is probably the best application for this kind of yarn, just because like this is going to be more like a jacket. It's very structured, it's very sturdy, and I think it'll be nice for what it is. It definitely won't be like a tailored piece of clothing, like it's gonna be like a big chunky cardigan, which I really love in its own right. But just let me know what you think. I sometimes wish that patterns had a bit more technicality to them sometimes, like so you can really understand like how to create fabric and modify fabric in other patterns to really make it fit you like perfectly. I have a lot of interest in that. So this is going really well. That's all I'll really say about it so far. It's, again, it's pretty straightforward. It's just stockinette, but I think that it suits the yarn combination really well. And I'm excited to dive back into this. This is another one that's just going really fast because of like the gauge of the yarn. And I'm really happy with it. It'll be ready just in time for summer. Just kidding. But those are all the things I'm working on. Those are the things that I've finished. I had to kind of rush through this a bit because my camera keeps overheating as it did the last time. But we're here, we made it, and I think I talked about all the things that I'm really working on actively right now. I'm not going to talk about my perennial sweater because it's been over there. It hasn't changed at all. I haven't touched it, honestly. I'm realizing that I am much more of a monogamous knitter. I try to be like dipping my hands in multiple things, and I like having multiple projects so that I can just like flow right into the next thing when I finish something. But I like to just work on one thing until it's done. I'm really realizing that about myself. So I don't tend to have like a ton of progress on a ton of different things because I kind of just work on one thing until it's done. But yeah, thank you all for being here, and I'm really happy that I get to do this. I hope you're all doing well and finding joy and getting to work on the things that you are excited and, you know, happy to be working on. And that's all I'll say. Stay classy. Bye. Oh, hi. Hi. Look at the people. This is my girl. This is the type of cameo that you might see of her. Oh, she's barking at somebody outside. Yeah, see the people? She's like, yeah, I don't care, woman. Look at you. All right. Bye, guys.